some of the strategies that I share about today, right? Like commenting on people's notes, commenting on people's articles, restacking things. If it's done with the wrong energy, it can seem very like 2010 Instagram follow for follow, right? It can feel very like I'm commenting on your thing, but only because I want you to comment on my thing back, right? And it's really interesting because some of the actions I'm suggesting in connecting so that you can grow your Substack account with authentic followers, the energy matters, the intention matters. And I think often as heart centered women, who we are naturally, we naturally love to support other women. We naturally love to cheer other women on. We naturally are vibrant. But I think along the way, we have little vibrancy wounds. We have think maybe like as a young girl, you naturally were giving and trusting and vibrant and weird and authentic. But along the way, that was made wrong. Along the way, you learned that you had to sacrifice a little bit of your authenticity for acceptance and belonging. And how we know neuroscience works is we will always almost yeah, allow an erosion of our authenticity if it means acceptance. Because in the caveman era, we had to be accepted to survive, right? And so that's where acceptance overrides that need, that core need for authenticity and expression. But I want to talk about this today and I want to talk about healing some of the wounds. You're like, wait, and I thought I was signing up for like get my first 100 subs. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Marissa. Hi, Nancy. Please say hello if you're here. I'm so excited to do the last day of the challenge. Since we've been hanging out for a little while today, I'm going to go a little deeper because I really feel like this is going to be the linchpin for some of you when it comes to growing your next 100 Substack subscribers, and not just random subscribers, but subscribers that actually want to buy from you, subscribers that actually resonate with you, subscribers you actually like. How often do we spend our childhood, our adolescence, our adulthood creating things and then realizing that wasn't even me, right? And I really think it's so important for you, especially early on, especially if you're under 100 subscribers. I think it's a great opportunity. So often we're like, oh, it's so annoying. I only have 5 subscribers. But I see this as this is amazing because everyone that you add to your subscriber list from this point is going to be attracted to the authentic you. You get to start from scratch, you get to redefine the rules. So today I want to talk about really thinking through maybe one thing that you want to release or process so that you can really stand in your fullness, like stand in your weirdness, stand in your big heart and your desire to connect and trust again. I really think growing online is a lot about not just self trust, but trusting the other humans on the platform, right? It's vulnerable to show up, it's vulnerable to comment, right? I don't know about you, but especially early on my business, like I had stranger danger. And so I think there's this beautiful conversation around how can we believe that we can show up in our fullest self. And if someone rejects that, if someone judges us, that doesn't take away from the fact that we'll never self-abandon ourselves, the fact that we'll never stand down from that, right? I really feel like a big thing that helped me grow to 300 plus subscribers quickly is I, especially in my first month, did a lot of connecting and engaging. And not from a place of like, oh, I'm going to comment on this person's article so that they can comment back on my article. And so that, like, I have this belief and feeling online that when you give and when you show up with your whole heart, it always comes back to you, that we're not in control of how that energy comes back to us. Maybe that person will follow us. Maybe that person won't, right? Like maybe that person will buy from us. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll recommend us to someone who does. And in 10 years in business, this is what I've seen is yes, I had to be responsible for continually putting out the connection and open energy, right? I can't just expect like people to pursue me and find me fascinating. I have to be willing to be fascinated by others. But knowing that even if it's unlinear, it will always come back to me. That when you put out positive energy, good vibes, encouragement, I remember, when I had like 2 subscribers, really thinking through like, I'm not attached to these people that I'm commenting on following me back, commenting me back, right? Like, but I am attached to the fact that when I put out high vibe energy, when I connect, when I show up, it always comes back to me. It always comes back to me. Okay, so today we're going to do a little bit of co-working. Nancy, I'm so glad you could attend the live. I'm so glad. said, please tell us you're sitting in your tree. Jenny, oh, Mary, are you sitting in a tree, Mary? I need to hear all these things. You guys have been joining me from the challenge from the most amazing places, right? Wasn't yesterday someone was like, or this week was like, I can't tune in because I'm at the beach, right? Or Beverly this morning in the chat was like, sorry, girls, I'm taking myself to a movie. This makes me so happy. This is why I love a challenge too, because I feel like you can do it at your own pace, right? That you can honor. And I just love that so much. Like, honor yourself. I'm also going to be leaving the challenge open all weekend. In case you have not completed all 5 action steps, you will have Saturday and Sunday, no problem, to finish, and feel free to still take up space in the challenge. Still, I'm going to make an extra thread. I scheduled it for tomorrow so that if you do any action steps tomorrow, you can post them in the thread there so that I don't miss it. So really giving you permission to take your time. Okay, today's agenda. We're going to do some co-working and connecting in real time so that I can coach you on it. We're also going to do, I'm going to do a little recap of all 5 days. I'm going to announce the challenge winner on session, which I'm really excited about. And I think that's it. Just really grateful for you, ladies. If you're joining me live, let me know. Or if you're watching the replay, what's the biggest takeaway that you had from the challenge this week? What really stood out to you? And what's a nugget that you're going to be taking with you? Maybe it's something that I shared. Maybe as you've been reading other people's articles, it's something that someone else shared in the challenge or on a home moment, a realization. I would love to hear the little nuggets that you're keeping with you from your heart and from this week. For me, the nuggets I'm keeping from this week are just really seeing the power of community and authentic heart-centered women, and also remembering how important the rooms that we are in, right? I really feel like for me, Substack is a lot easier to show up and connect and be in community in than like Instagram. And so it's this reminder not to force yourself into the places that really are not a fit for you, for your business, but also for life, right? Being okay to say, like, hey, this group of people, hey, this friendship, hey, that, like, maybe that was for my last chapter, but for this next chapter, there's something else in store for me. And it's safe for me to embrace how I can feel the most authentic in my expression. Okay, so good. Okay, Mary's not in her tree today. Were you in your tree yesterday and I missed it? Okay, I love that so much. I love that you guys are connecting with each other. Okay, living in Shalom. I can't remember. Tell me your name, living in Shalom. I can't remember. Writing 30 notes in 30 minutes really it's so useful, you guys. And I have a few sessions left for next week. If you decide you want to join me for a 30-minute session, I'll help you write your 30 notes. And more importantly, really get clear on your message so that when you're writing your notes, it's attracting the right people. But I really agree that it's useful for you to pump them out. It doesn't make you any less authentic. You can always write organic posts on top of that, but at minimum, having scheduled that month in advance so that in those moments that you have low days, you're still getting visible and you're not having to force yourself to always be in a good mood all the time. Okay, Mary says her biggest takeaway is yes, we can. There are so many more people like me than I thought. I only need to fit in my Mary size space. No one else containers matters. Jenny says notes are what grow your channel. Lives and articles give depth. That's so well said, Jenny. Really good. Yeah, it makes it so much less consuming. It really does. And I think too, especially if you're like me, where you're a little bit like hyper responsible and like it's just useful to retrain your brain to remind yourself it's safe for you to work less hard. It's safe for it to be easy and for it to still be impactful. Okay, quick recap on the 5 actions we took this week. You wrote an article because while articles are not always going to help you massively grow, I actually think like once you have a really big following, articles can, because a lot of people are restacking it, right? Like, but I think when you're tiny, articles likely are not going to grow you. What is going to grow you is what we did on day 2, which is notes, but it's still important to do the articles because it's the foundation of your work. Day 3, we talked about doing a live or, like someone said, something that's going to increase the connection with the people that are subscribing to you. I'm a big fan of just not always trying to get like bigger, 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 but really connecting. Number 1, so that you monetize, but number 2, so that you enjoy it. I don't know about you, but like it's almost like a different persona. The persona we grow when we nurture is different than the persona when we're growing with new people. And for me, when I'm growing, when I'm like making new friends, when I'm in my life, that's fine. But that can only last for so long. As heart centered women, we need depth, we need connection, or else why are we doing this? Right. I also think it's remembering that depth and connection ultimately does. I can't tell you how many people in this challenge this week have told me, like, hey, I've invited my friend to this challenge, or hey, I so like allowing the depth to bring people into, right? Okay, so good. Today, oh, yesterday we talked about why am I for repurposing, right? Resharing 2 things. Number 1, notes is a great way to get more followers who are already on the platform. But I think it can be powerful to also think through what are the places off of the platform that you can bring people into, especially because when they opt in here, you get their email address. So maybe they were following you on social media, but you didn't have really a way to contact them, right? I think it can be so useful to bring people in. So yesterday we talked about whether it's to your email list or other social media channels, really bringing people over to this platform. And today we're talking about connecting, engaging, and being intentional with that. So, what I would like you to do, we're just going to do like a baby burst of it. What I suggest to you to do once a week is to set a 15-minute timer and to connect for 15 minutes and to allow yourself to like let that be efficient, because again, I think our brain works in different contexts. The brain that we put on when we're writing a long article is a different brain than when we're writing a short note, is a different brain than when we're strategically thinking about inviting people from other social media platforms, is a different brain than when we connect in some ways, right? For me, it's more of like this extroverted, I'm like encouraging others, I'm thinking of others. That's different than when I'm in my like quiet writing place, right? And so giving yourself permission to not have to feel that way all the time. Tell me in the chat what day of the week makes the most sense for you to do your 15-minute connection block. I love Fridays because Fridays is the day of the week that I usually work lighter, that I don't have client calls. And so I just feel a little, I don't know, like I have a little more spaciousness or energy, but put it on the day of the week where you feel the most, like we want it to feel good. Like we don't want it, kind of like for me, I know I have to work out to stay healthy, but I don't have to be miserable working out, right? Like I do workouts that I love. I love taking bar class, ballet class. Same thing with growing on Substack. Like you had to put in the reps and connect, but you don't have to be miserable connecting. In fact, once I get in the right headspace, I like it. And often I do it for more than 15 minutes because I'm enjoying it so much. That's the goal, is that you're like no misery. No misery is allowed, right? Okay, so good. Yes, you can do it as often as daily, depending on the results that you want to see, right? Okay, so good. So, what I'm encouraging you to do so that this feels really doable is to break this down into 3 types of actions, right? Comments on articles, comments on notes, and comment and reshares. And a lot of people think like, oh, if you have this metric, like I want to do 3 comments on articles and 3 comments on notes and 3, then it somehow has to become robotic and you don't care or it doesn't matter or it's not authentic. I remember feeling this way when I started getting overwhelmed as I was growing my business. I started systematizing a lot more of my life, right? So, like, if my friend would tell me she's having a surgery, I would forget unless I would literally like write it on my calendar. Right. And at first I was like, oh, I'm such a bad friend. The fact that I'm like systematizing my life, does this make me cold? Right. And then I realized like, no, it doesn't. It's my friend is not going to be mad that she's going to be like, wow, I'm going to cry. She's probably going to be like, wow, I matter that much to Anna that even when she's busy, she's going to set a reminder to make sure she remembers to check in on me and care. That doesn't mean that I care less. And I think as heart-centered women, we think that like scheduling posts or having a official time when we engage, we make it mean that we care less. But the truth is that I realize nothing can make you less heart-centered. Nothing is going to take away your heart, your morals, your values, right? And for me, it was really freeing to realize that as I grew and as I made more money and as my business became more systematized, I didn't have to lose my heart, my conscience, my values, my integrity, my presence with my kids. And I was afraid. I was afraid that my business growing would mean that I would be less heart centered. that I would be less present with my kids. But I find that that's the opposite. As my business has grown and as I've systematized it more, I've actually been more organized. I never forget a birthday now because I have a system for it, right? Um, and so, what I want you to do is remind yourself it's safe for you to add some structure to things without taking the heart out, right? You can still mean the comments that you say. Okay, so what we're gonna do, if you have, let me know with a yes, if you have two devices in front of you. Ideally, you have something you can watch me on and then something that you can co-work with on Substack. Tell me with a yes if you do. We're going to do one of each. Though the goal is that every Friday you'll do 3 comments on articles, 3 comments on notes, and 3 restacks of something that matters to you. But today we're just going to do one of each. So let's talk first about the articles. I saw someone in our challenge chat write that, Anna, I'm not naturally seeing a lot of articles in my feed. It's true, right? Substack is naturally showing you, and I would encourage you to do this for people that you're not yet connected with. The whole goal is to expand your network. You can comment on people's stuff that you're following and are following you during the week. But today is about expansion actions that are growing your Substack subscribers, right? And naturally, Substack is showing you on your homepage notes. That's why I want you writing notes if you want other people discovering you, because that's what Substack is showing people that aren't following you yet. But I want you to be a little bit more clever. And I want you to make sure that you find 3 articles of people that you are not yet following. This can be a big account, a small account, I don't care. And I want you to read the article or at least skim it. And I want you to leave a thoughtful comment that's 5 sentences. I know that sounds long, but I'm going to tell you, when you leave a 5 sentence comment on someone's article, they will notice. They will notice. For me, I've had my podcast for like 5 years now, but when someone leaves a review on my podcast that's like significantly long, I read every single one and it makes me so happy because as creators, we work so hard for our content. So when someone notices, no, I don't care how big the account is, if you're leaving a 5 sentence note and you're being authentic, people are going to notice. And that's the stuff that starts to make a difference. So today, what I want you to do is pick one. Ooh, I love that. Nancy says, I did that today organically with one of Janice's and I was blown away. Okay, interesting. I need more context on that, Nancy, but I'm so glad you're getting good results with it. Okay, so what I want you guys to do if you're on your other device is I want you to pick an article. Again, that someone that you're not subscribed to, someone that's not subscribing to you, and I want you to leave a 3 to 5 sentence note on their article. I know you can't like read their whole article right now, but I want you to at least find the article and like pull it up in a tab. Okay. Next, I do want you to find a note, and I don't just want you to heart it. Again, someone that you're not following, and it's almost like the equivalent of like you were going to a yoga class, right? Not just talking to your friends, but like saying hey to the person you haven't met yet. I just think it's so powerful. And I know that it's vulnerable, but like that expansive energy is what helps you grow. Okay, so oh, you're blown away by her article. How amazing. I enjoy it too. I enjoy reading articles. So the trick here is to find an article you actually like to read so that by the end you can make a comment that actually is authentic. You don't have to say like this was a great article if it was not a great article, right? Like it'll be a great article to someone. And then the next final one is restacking. This is the easiest, but find someone or something, again, ideally that you're not following and they're not following you, and you restack it with a note and you write something thoughtful. I fully believe that you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all 9 of these actions in 15 minutes, right? I know that some articles are very long, right? And so maybe you give yourself permission to spend more than 15 minutes for those. But a lot of the articles that I comment on, I skim it, right? Like I'm a skimmer. I don't think you have to like deeply read the entire article to leave a comment that feels genuine and authentic, at least for me, right? Or I'll read certain parts of it and comment on those parts that matter to me. I think giving yourself permission to, or if the article is too, like find someone else's article that's a little shorter, right? But I really think it's safe for you to be efficient, but also be authentic. It's safe for you to do both. So good. Yes. Katrina says that she has been commenting on articles, on notes. That's such a great action to do all week. But again, make sure that you're also doing this on articles and notes of people that you are not yet following, people that are not yet following you, right? Because this extends you outside of your circle. It also might be a fun challenge to see how you can approach this in your real life, right? Like I always try to do this when I go to my hot yoga class. I try to like not that I'm necessarily expecting anything of it, but I try to every time like make at least one connecting comment to someone that I absolutely don't know. Maybe I'll like see a workout outfit I love and I'm like, I love your workout outfit if I genuinely do, right? Or I will say, oh my gosh, this class is so hard, right? I just think there's something brave about being the first one. It's almost like when two people like each other and then you're the first one that says like I like you. Like that's vulnerable because then the other person might say that they like you or they might not, right? And I think it's safe for you to put your head out there, to put your heart out there and connect. So give me a yes in the chat box if you already did your 15 minutes today or if after the session you plan to do your 15 minutes and connect. Okay, let's do a little Q&A and I would love to hear from you. Um if there is anywhere you're stuck when it comes to connecting, when it comes to deepening your community, right? I think another big part of this too that makes it easier for people to want to subscribe to you when you are connecting is making sure that you have quality content in your feed to fall back on. For example, right? A lot of the reason I put this on day 5 and not day 1 is because let's say that you're connecting and you're engaging, and then someone clicks back to your Substack. There needs to be a little bit of something for them to say, wow, this girl is cool and I want to follow her and subscribe, right? That is why I put connection on day 5 because hopefully by this point, you've written at least a few notes and you've written at least one article, right? That's enough. That's plenty for someone to look and be like, this girl's cool, right? But if we're connecting, if we're reaching out, but there's no substance there, then it can be really hard. And so that's why all 5 of these pieces work together in perfect unison. And why I put them in this order purposefully is because I really feel like the connection is almost like a lighter fluid on a fire, right? You know, when someone does a bonfire and maybe it's not like going very big, and then someone does lighter fluid and then you're like, wow, this thing exploded, right? It's really because if you put lighter fluid on wood that's not lit, nothing is going to happen. But your creative work, your creative genius is just the spark. And so you can troubleshoot in this way. If you find that you're like, I'm doing a lot of connecting and commenting and no, right, all of that, but you feel like it's not growing you like you'd like, I'd really encourage you to take a minute and ask yourself, if I am a visitor on my own profile, it doesn't have to be a fancy profile, right? As you know, I've never even customized mine yet, right? But if I go to my feed and I look at your bio, does not have to be fancy. I think my bio was like one sentence and I wrote it who knows what time, right? And you look just like a quick snapshot of the feed, right? Is it enough that you would be interested in yourself? I love that question. Like, would you date yourself? And if not, it might give you a little bit of permission to be a little bit more honest, a little more authentic, a little bit more opinionated in your content so that people know right away, like, yeah, this girl is someone I'd love to get to know. That's what helps the connection convert, right? So you're not just connecting, but so that when people are landing on your profile, because I guarantee they are, they're not just stopping for a minute, but they're clicking subscribe, right? And they're following more along for the journey. Everyone, let me know in the chat box what's one thing they could do to make their first impression a little more magnetic. What is it? Is it that you want to give yourself permission to be a little bit more opinionated? Is it permission to be a little bit more authentic? Is it permission to be a little bit funny? I'm not very funny, but some of you guys are very witty. And so if that's part of your brand and your personality, like allowing that to come to the surface, because that's going to attract people to you. I know I subscribe to people that are funny all the time because that brings that liveliness in my feed. I agree. I do think this platform is a lot easier to connect. It's so funny. This morning I was on Substack on the app actually, and my son is like, "What is that? It looks like a more boring version of Instagram." I'm like, yeah, precisely. It is, isn't it? It's a little bit more boring of a version than Instagram. And what does that mean? I think it's a little bit more connection friendly, right? I think it's a little bit more a little bit less fast paced, a little bit less shiny, a little bit less visual, a little bit more quality. And I love it because I think it lets us produce more content because it's easier to just like write a note what's top of mind, even if we don't have our hair done. Right. We can just like put it out. And I really like it because I think it like allows us to be the essence of who we are without like the shell of our body, right? It really allows our heart and our message and our soul to translate in that way. So I just love it. Oh, I love that. Jenny is setting the intention to talk more about a few key topics. Her feed is a little bit all over the place, which is a totally fine place to start. But I agree. I do think you will get more subscribers more quickly if people know what it is they're signing up for, especially when your account is small. I think when our accounts are bigger, we have more leeway. But I think when our account is small, it's useful for people to know, what am I signing up for? Right? I think in my bio, I mentioned something about my kids. I mentioned something about my business. I mentioned something about smashing the patriarchy, right? Like right away, really casually, I'm mentioning a little bit about what's going on. Right. So when I did my note this morning about Lindsay Clancy, like no one's going to be surprised, right? The opinions I have on that. And again, it's not saying people have to follow you or subscribe to you, but it's helping people feel safe knowing what it is that they're signing up for. Let's do a little brainstorm. That's a great one, Jenny. I think that's a great one for optimizing your subscriber amount. Because I think it's not just about getting more people to your page, but it's trying to get almost every person that comes to your page to subscribe. Right? To me, that's so much better on just like getting 1,000 eyeballs because you want more subscribers. You don't want more views. Right? And a big way to do that is ask yourself, am I being worthy of subscribes? Not in like, am I a worthy human, but like, is the data showing me that my account is fascinating for people to follow? Okay, so tell me in the chat box three things, three kind of topics that you want to circle around for the fall. I'm a big fan because I'm multi passionate of kind of picking something in every era and knowing that it doesn't define you and knowing that you don't have to commit to it forever. But I think it's great to kind of like niche your message down for a quarter. So, thinking about this fall, what are the three topics that you most want to write on? What are the three topics that you want your notes and articles and bio to kind of circle in around, right? So that, like, I mean, Jenny, that was such a great point. Honestly, thank you for making it. Right. That if we're, and it was so vulnerable to say that, but I just think it's great and honest, right? She didn't say, like, I'm a horrible person because my content is all over the place. She's like, ooh, I wonder if I would get more subscribers if when people land, my feed was more focused and they knew what they were getting into, right? None of this is personal. Like none of business is, I know it feels very personal because we're passionate about it, but it's so much more easy to get visible, to sign a lot of subscribers, to sign clients if we don't make it personal. If we're not like, you know, whatever, making ourselves wrong for it. Instead, we're like, oh no, this is what other people need in order to feel safe to subscribe to me. Oh, Steph, that one is so good. Let me read Stephanie's out. Stephanie says, permission to be messy and share with less editing. Oh my God, this one is huge. This one is huge. I think this makes a big difference when someone lands on your page and is deciding, do I subscribe or do I not subscribe? I totally agree that when there's less filtering, less of like an AI vibe, right? Like more of a like, ooh, this is like a real person. And like, that is so much more easy to hit subscribe to, right? So giving yourself, which we think our imperfection will turn people away. If they saw the real me, if they knew my real thoughts, like, right, I would be rejected. Who I am is not enough. Instead of being like, who I am, like the messy, raw, unedited version is more than enough and is actually what's going to attract people to me. It's safe for me to be vulnerable, to have a typo, to not be polished, to be more raw, to just like, I love that one, Stephanie. Thank you so much for sharing that. So good. Really beautiful. Okay, Lori's topics are going to be freedom from alcohol, self compassion, and anxiety. Exactly. Right. And know that someone doesn't have to fit into all three of those buckets to want to subscribe to you. Right. Like I'm a single mama. Most of my clients, I have many clients that are not even moms at all. Right. Like I think when we stand up for 3 things, what it does is people will either resonate with that, they'll be like, "Oh, great, I also am struggling with anxiety," or "I also need," or they'll at least respect and admire that, right? Like for me, not struggling with alcohol related stuff, but I have experienced light addictions in other areas of my life, right? And so I'm like, probably the insights that Lori is going to share, like, is going to be useful around talking about like how do we soothe our anxiety and our need for control and without numbing, right? Like I'm please Lori, like I'm going to so relate to that. So I think it's remembering we're afraid to niche down because we're afraid it'll detract people, but it won't. Right? We're just saying, like, this is what I'm about, but the right people are going to respect and honor and appreciate that, even if they can't relate to it exactly. Do you know what I mean? Let me know if that makes sense. Mary says, personal growth parenting empowerment and the nonprofit we do on Sundays, laced with authenticity, silliness, and messiness. So beautiful. Jenny says self empowerment, moving from dark times, conscious creation and intuition, and woo woo. I would literally put woo woo in your bio, right? Like I would put woo woo in your bio. That's so useful, right? Okay, see, this is totally a bonus training that you guys let us into because I think this is an important conversation, right? Like, not just how do we connect with new people and get more eyeballs on our stuff, but how do we turn those into subscribers? And it's exactly what we're talking about here, right? Which is making sure that we're just releasing any filter. I love that. Nancy says healing with humor. So beautiful. Katrina says faith and growth, grief, emotional wellness. So beautiful. Really beautiful. Okay, so good, ladies. Let me make sure that I covered everything that I need to. Okay, drum roll, please. She's not on here, but I did a drawing with everyone that at least up to day 4, because that's all the data I had last night when I was picking the challenge winner. And I did everyone who had engaged daily to that point. I did a drawing, a random drawing, because so many of you guys, I thought it was going to be really small. So many of you engaged every day. Tell me in the chat box if you, at least days 1 through 4, engaged and did the prompt for 4 days in a row. Honestly, I was floored and shocked. My expectations were very low, not in like a bad way, but just like people are busy and this is a free challenge. So many of you literally did every single day's assignment. So I am just like honestly floored and shocked and amazed. Really, really amazed. The winner is Antonella DeFranco. She was the one that won. I don't think she's here on the live, but big congratulations, Antonella. You won the 60-minute strategy call with me. So when you see this, make sure you email me. We can get that scheduled. But a big congratulations to all of you because I feel like there were so many of you that really showed up and not just showed up for yourself. You and I noticed you guys showed up for each other. You guys were cheering each other on. You guys were commenting on each other's things. You were like, whenever I would go to comment on someone's thing, I would notice there was other challenge ladies like already there engaging and commenting and just being kind and thoughtful. And it just made me really happy because honestly, this challenge turned out a lot bigger than I expected. So I do feel like I wasn't able to keep up quite as much as I wanted on like engaging on every single person's thing that they posted every single day. And so it makes me so happy that you guys were there. That's the value of community, right? Is that we're there to support each other. We're there to support each other and know that this challenge magic does not need to end here. Number one, I'm going to leave all the challenge trainings up through Monday. So you got plenty of time to decide that. Also, remember, you still have a few days left to grab the $97 one-on-one session with me if you do want to brainstorm and draft your 30 notes, refine your message in 30 minutes with me. I would love to do that. And I'm looking forward to continuing the Substack journey together. I'm looking forward to continuing to get to know you, continuing to grow, and continuing to talk about the things that I love to talk about most are 3-day entrepreneurship, are anything related to the matriarchy, smashing the patriarchy, feminism, LGBTQ, right? Like all of the things that have to do with unshackling ourselves from a culture that doesn't allow full creative and authentic expression. So excited to continue to write from my heart here and get to know you ladies better. So good. Mary says you might now have been able to engage as much as you might not have been able to engage as much as you wanted, but don't make me cry. But I already had my therapy session this morning, so I already just like cried buckets. And then someone said the nicest thing on one of my Instagram posts this morning, and I was already crying more buckets. So I don't know if I can read this out. Um, you might not have been able to engage as much as you wanted, but you created and gave us the ability to love and support each other. And thank you, Maria. It's so sweet. It's so sweet. Stop. It's been such a great group. Honestly, I have just loved connecting with you ladies. And Nancy, I didn't even know you were traveling. I feel like you showed up great this week, right? So it's more important for me to practice self-care. But I feel like I feel like I've seen you every day in here, Nancy. I feel like no problem. And that's a great point. Steph said that the week got busy, so she fell off. I don't know that I would call that falling off, Steph, right? Honestly, if you guys did one day this week, I'm impressed because you guys have a life. You guys have responsibilities. Like, so what I would encourage you to do is just pick, if you didn't do all 5 days of the challenge, I would just pick one more day. Again, even though they're kind of layered, I made each of the trainings so that they're independent on purpose. And I encourage you to just pick one more of the trainings to do this weekend, right? I worked weekends all the time when I was a therapist and growing my business. So giving you credit, I think we shame ourselves for working on the weekend, but like work when you want to, like take the midweek off and work on the weekend, or maybe you're having a day job, or right. Like I used to have many coffee shop Saturday morning work sessions when I was in transition. So give yourself and it's kind of fun because like no one needs you, no one expects anything of you. So I would encourage you, let me know. Oh, I don't know why my camera is being a little pill. She's being a little pill. We're not. Okay, let me see. Maybe I turn my camera off. I'm back on. Yeah, I should have discovered that. Okay, you guys, that's a great hack. I'm learning all the things. If you do a live and it gets blurry, just turn your camera off and turn it back on. Then it works perfect. Tell me in the chat if you're going to do some catching up this weekend. It doesn't mean you're behind, right? I purposely am putting in these 2 buffer days so that you have extra time to do some of these actions. I really encourage you. I would recommend you watch the training and do the action. I would rather you do that for one day than just watch the training for all 5 days. Because while I love hanging out with you and I appreciate it, I really believe that it's the action that starts to rewire your brain and make an actual difference for you. Experiential learning, I just think is so highly underrated, right? Just like we talked about on day one, it's great to talk your emotions out. I just did it this morning with my therapist, but it's also important to like shake your body when you're angry, and like just the experiential somatic work I just think is queen. So if you are going to catch up this weekend, pick one of the days, watch the training, but do the action. And then again, I'm going to put a prompt tomorrow, it's scheduled, so that you can tell me the action that you did so I can actually see it. But give yourself permission to catch up, to do what feels good to you. And again, never tell yourself I'm behind, right? You're at your own pace and you can go at the pace that serves you. Okay, I know I asked this yesterday, I think, but tell me what you are most proud of yourself for from this challenge week. What's something that you're proud of? Maybe it's writing your first article, right? Maybe it's getting however many subscribers. Maybe it's meeting new people. Maybe it's actually committing and deciding, yeah, Substack is my platform, right? I want to hear, what are you most proud of yourself for? Because there's always another metric to go. There's always more articles to write. There's always more subscribers to grow. But I think there's something powerful about putting a line in the sand and saying, I'm proud of this. This is progress. This is something that I worked my booty off for. And I'm going to stop and I'm going to celebrate myself. And a lot of times we're like, oh, no one sees or appreciates it starts when you see and appreciate your own growth. When you are proud of yourself, especially in seasons when I'm feeling discouraged in my business or life, I will list my wins, especially when you don't feel like you have any wins. That's the time that you need to be listing your wins, because as ambitious women, there's always something more to go. It's never going to be enough. There's always another milestone. And so I think there's something beautiful about saying, this was my win. I woke up. I put on mascara today, right? I wrote my article. I did this, right? Going live. Jenny, was that your first ever live on Substack or in general? If that was your first ever live in your life, Like, that is huge. That is huge. Oh, I love that. Lori says, the more I write, the more I think about to write. So once we're in action, it's easier, right? Nancy says, showing up beyond resistance and connecting, being vulnerable and open and truly sharing my beautiful life. Mary says, I'm proud of myself for honoring the choice that I made, participating fully. This has been exactly what I need. So grateful for you, ladies. Okay, I hope you have a beautiful Friday. Tell me what your weekend plans are. Do you have any fun weekend plans? I am you haven't done it in 5 years. That's amazing, Jenny. So amazing. Truly amazing. One of my best friends from college is flying in this weekend, so I get to hang out with her, especially on Sunday. I'm also on the weekend I teach a fitness class bar, so I get to do that tomorrow, and then I also get to go to lunch with one of my girlfriends. We're both single moms. So we both love we love going to Chili's with our kids because our kids can be loud and we just hang out. Like for me, this is like the perfect weekend, right? This is my happy, boring dream life. And I really encourage you to make sure that you're spending the weekend how you want to be spending it, right? That you're taking the risks that you need to so that you have the money and resources and freedom to spend the weekend, not how someone else would spend it, not how a magazine says you need to spend it, not how the world says you need to spend it, but how feels most fulfilling and peaceful to you. Okay, have a beautiful week.